Welcome to Behind the Bower, where we share inspiring conversations, take a closer look at the arts in our community, and spotlight the artists, educators, and students who make creativity come alive right here in our region. I'm your host, Lauren Hood, Program Manager at Bower Center for the Arts. Today's episode is one I'm especially excited about because I am joined by an incredibly talented student from Staunton River High, along with their wonderful art teachers, Mrs. Wise and Miss Daniels. For the student, art isn't just an assignment or an elective. It's a place to explore who they are, to process emotions, to build confidence, and sometimes just to breathe. And for Mrs. Wise and Miss Daniels, teaching art goes far beyond technique. It's about creating a space where students feel seen, supported, and brave enough to try something new. And today, we're going to talk about how art makes them feel, how it's shaped the way that they see the world, and why art matters in schools and what it means to create work that will be shared with the wider community. So whether you're an artist, an art supporter, or just someone who's curious about why creativity matters, you're in the right place. Good afternoon, y'all.
Hi.
Hi. I'm so excited that you guys are here. So let's just start with something easy. We're going to start with some intros. If you want to go around, introduce yourselves. I'm going to have you tell us your name, what grade you're in, and then what kind of art you love making the most.
Hey there, I'm Isabel. I'm a senior, and I love to do, or at least try to do, any sort of like realism-based painting.
Mm-hmm.
I like to use oil paints and acrylics, and I also like to try to incorporate mixed media into them.
Awesome. And I'll have the teacher's answers as well.
I'm Emily Wise, and I've been an art teacher for 32 years, and I've been at Staunton River for 9. And I love making art that uses color in unexpected ways. I think my favorite medium is acrylic.
Awesome.
All right, and I'm Bobby Daniels. I've been teaching for around 5 years, and I've been at Staunton River. This is now my 4th year. And I enjoy making art that has some kind of meaning behind it and is conceptual. I usually find myself focusing on printmaking or photography.
Awesome. A lot of variety in the room. I love that. Normally with these Bedford County Public School, high school podcasts that we've been doing, we normally do have 2 students that represent the school. Unfortunately, one of our students was not able to make it today, so Isabel is the star of the show today. But I'm going to have Isabel answer some questions. I'm going to have the teachers answer some questions, and we're just going to dive right in. Let's talk about where you started with falling in love with art. Do you have a moment where you remember that art just really clicked for you and it kind of it stopped being a class and started feeling more personal?
Yeah, I think when I did my first portrait with oil painting, I think I could take a step back and really see the face in it, and I feel like that connected me with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Teachers, if you want to chime in on this one, is there a moment for you that art really became just that thing for you when you were in school?
I remember in 8th grade, my parents let me take private lessons, and that was really a huge part of my life. And then my high school art teacher, she just molded me, and I wanted to be just like her. And so I decided to be an art teacher. From early on. I never changed my mind. That's just what I went to college for, and that's what I did.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, art didn't really click for me until after high school.
Yeah.
I was in my freshman year at CVCC, and I was taking a photography class with Professor LaFaso. And I think CVC has since ended their fine arts program, which is really sad.
Yeah.
But it was my first time doing darkroom photography and developing photos, and he kind of named me the caretaker of the darkroom, which was really fun. And I enjoyed being in charge of setting the timer and refreshing all the chemicals. And so I feel like I had a place inside of an art space, and that's when it just kind of clicked to me that I wanted to continue my education in fine art.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to take it back to Isabel. What does art give you that you feel like really nothing else can?
It allows me to have a way to speak without actually having to speak.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy when certain pieces can speak for themselves and invite the viewer in to help draw out the conversation.
Yeah. So you would feel like art has kind of helped you process some of the things that maybe you didn't quite have the words for. You were able to really express that through your art.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's amazing.
I think that's true for any artist.
Yeah.
And especially for Isabel, I feel like that's a wonderful thing to be able to do. And, some people do that through music, some people do that through writing. But any kind of creating and making and expressing, it gives you a different kind of voice to speak with. And that's important.
When somebody really looks into your art, 'cause you talked about that, what you're wanting to express, what is it? Is there a piece to you that maybe you've done recently, you've done in the past, that you were really trying to portray something, and that you hoped that the viewer understood about you?
Not really any specific piece,
Mhm.
but I feel like when I work, I do them based on feelings, and I don't want people to look at my paintings and try to really dig out a specific meaning or specific goal with it, and just make up their own ideas about it and own
Yeah.
feelings.
Yeah, kind of interpret it the way that it makes them feel. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about art in school for a minute. And everybody is free to answer these. What do you think school would feel like without art classes? Whoever wants to start that one.
I think there'd be a lot less problem solving, and the learning environment would be rigid,
Boring.
less practice of thinking out of the box, less creativity.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be a lot less motivating. I know for myself specifically, there's been so many days where I've only showed up to school just for the art class because there was a project I wanted to work on. It helps give students a little bit of a easier time during the day.
Yeah. Absolutely. I've talked about this before. I'm not a visual artist. I don't do drawing or painting or anything like that. I was in the performing arts, and that I was very similar in school, where there were many, many, many days where the only thing that brought me to school was my choir class or it was my theater class. And it was that community, and it was where I felt safest. It's where I felt most like me. Than I was, in my math class or something like that, which they're all classes are important. Ms. Wise, you had talked a little bit about this. What do you think art teaches students that other subjects may not?
I think that it teaches us to create something unique. It can boost students' self-esteem. It can keep students motivated. It involves them making choices. And, sometimes when they start a piece, they don't know what the outcome is going to be. They have to just keep going. Ms. Daniels and I both use this phrase a lot, trust in the process. And they just have to keep going with it to create their vision.
Yeah.
Yeah, we say that so often, at least I know I do, that I have kids, when they ask me or they look at me and they say, oh, I'm just not happy with it. And, they're halfway through whatever they're working on. I can just give them a look, and then they give the same look back, and they're like, I know, Miss Daniels, trust the process. I'm like, yes, you knew exactly what I was going to say. You're halfway through it. Of course you don't like it right now. It's not, quote unquote, finished in your eyes.
Yeah.
So we definitely have to give a lot of encouragement, but it's always worthwhile.
For my teachers, what is one way that you've seen students grow through art that has surprised you?
I know that we both have come to roughly the same conclusion on this question, because it's probably the most rewarding thing that happens in the art classroom. And it's when they have, the students can see that there's an issue or they've made a mistake. And instead of beating themselves up or giving up. They have to learn to think outside the box and use creative problem solving to pivot and turn whatever went wrong into part of their final product. And they have to make it work, because sometimes, I know Miss Wise is doing printmaking right now. Yes, on linoleum board. And if you have a misstep when you're carving, like you can't take it back.
Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah.
So you may have to turn that, what was supposed to be a leaf, into something else.
Right. Yeah.
Or just take it out altogether.
Together.
Get rid of the whole thing.
Yeah. And that actually leads into what I want to talk to you about next, is just like growth and then frustration and growing in that confidence piece. Because let's be honest, like not every piece turns out the way that you imagine it, right? So Isabel, what do you do when something just isn't working?
I like to take a step back and try to figure out what it is exactly that went wrong or that I don't like, and try to rework it. And if the whole piece I feel like can't really be fixed, then I try to reuse the pieces, like if it's a canvas or clay or anything.
Yeah.
It's just paint. You can just paint over it.
Right. Yeah.
Start again.
Yeah. How do you like handle that frustration or self-doubt that you may have in your art?
I try to look at my other pieces, see what I've been able to do before, and understand like maybe the spot I'm in emotionally, if that is affecting it, and just try like not to push myself into burnout.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine it's taught you a lot about like patience and maybe what like failure looks like, and then just trying again based on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's great. Do you see art staying with you after high school, even if it's not your career?
Yeah, I hope to be painting and taking photos and doing whatever I can for as long as I have time to. But I don't think I'm going to be painting as a career. That can lead to burnout very quickly.
Yeah, totally understand that. All right. We've gotten really deep. So we're just going to ask some fun and creative questions. Isabel, if your art was a playlist, what would the title be, and what would be the top featured song?
For this, I really don't have any ideas for it. It definitely would be like calmer, like indie, almost indie rock sort of songs, but definitely like just good vibes with it.
Good Vibes. That's the playlist title, is Good Vibes by Isabel. If you could design a mural that represents your generation, what would it say or look like?
I feel like I picture just a group of teens and young adults, and whatever subject they may be looking at, they're like investigating, like maybe as like investigators or detectives, but they're looking deeper into problems that other generations kind of just seem to gloss over.
Yeah.
Sounds like a curious generation.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. That's beautiful. All right. So we have got our final reflections, and everybody has to answer these. Okay. So we're going to end with this. In your own words, why does art matter?
I feel like art allows for an artist to really speak to a viewer without actually like telling the viewer what to think or what to say about it. It allows the viewer to really like be the artists themselves too, like come up with their own reasoning.
Absolutely.
I think art is everything. It's what you wear, your food comes in, just it's everywhere. And as far as, I just think it provides a place for individual expression. It lowers stress. It bridges gaps in different backgrounds. It's just so important. And just imagine if the world didn't have art, you know, it'd just be dull and no color, and I just can't even imagine it.
Yeah.
Hope we never have to.
I know.
I don't know if that's even possible because, like you said, art is everything you consume. It's, fashion, it's the way vehicles are designed, it's architecture, it's the couch in your living room. Like, someone picked the fabric, someone wove the fabric, someone put the frame together. There isn't a single thing around you that an artist didn't have a hand in creating, even if they're just like, oh, I'm an industrial designer. Like, you're still an artist, you're still making choices that produce something that has to have form and function. So it really would be hard to have a world without art. I think it matters for that reason. It's everywhere around you. On a more personal note, like, I think it helps you understand and process emotions through creative outlets. It helps you express things that are hard to find the words for. And also, it's just beautiful. Like, there's no other reason to truly love art other than to love it for its beauty.
Absolutely. I think if more people recognized just how much our lives are encompassed with art, they would see more value in it in maybe the education system or in their daily lives, and consuming more of that, like, kind of creative media as opposed to, other kinds. So absolutely, I agree with that. And then final question. And what would you say to a student who thinks they're not creative enough?
Trust the process.
Trust the process.
Yeah.
And the process over the product.
Yes.
I also let them use tools that are available to artists to make them successful. I mean, there's no hidden secret that people can project images if that works for them to get something on the canvas. There's still a whole lot of work going in behind that. Just remembering that being creative is something that they develop over time and take it step by step, and takes practice, it takes patience. And I heard a quote once from Vincent van Gogh that said, "I'm always doing what I cannot do yet in order to learn how to do it."
I love that.
And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to tell the students that, like Emily said, that it's not always about your final product. It's about the process of creating it, and being aware that you're making something. Journey is more important than the destination, kind of thing. And when I was in college, I think you mentioned like how creativity is something you can develop. I was really upset because there was a girl in college who was making these beautiful, like, photorealistic paintings.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I could never, ever do that. And then a professor had a conversation with me and told this story about how when he was in his master's program, there were two different artists, and one was very abstract and the other was super realistic, and they're both painters. And the abstract student was upset. The photorealistic painter was upset because the abstract student was getting so many good, high critiques. And so they said to the one who's painting very abstractly, like, well, how long did it take you to make that? Like, it must have taken you just a couple hours. Mine takes weeks and weeks, and I put all this time and effort into it. And so the abstract artist responds with saying, it's taken me my whole lifetime to make this piece of art. And I'm like, oh, that's very impactful. I'm like, if I could just instill that in students, that, what they're making isn't always what's important, that, it's sometimes about who you are as a person and what you're putting into it that matters most.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about, like, finding your thing. You're not gonna be creative if you're, like, comparing your art to other pieces. You need to block out the other noise for a bit and just feel what your own, like, soul wants, not what other people want.
Yeah. That's powerful. That's good stuff, y'all. That's great stuff. Well, thank y'all so much for being here today. Truly thank you, Staunton River High, for sharing your creativity, your honesty, and your voice. And thank you, Ms. Wise and Ms. Daniels, for the way you show up for students and advocate for the arts. Thank you, Isabel, for sharing all of your wisdom. If today's conversation inspired you, and I hope it did, we would love for you to come experience this work in person at the Bedford County Public Schools High School Art Show at Bauer Center for the Arts. The show will open April 22nd, and it is such a special opportunity to celebrate the talent, hard work, and heart of our local students. As always, you can learn more about exhibits, classes, workshops, and youth programs by visiting bowercenter.org and following Bauer Center on social media. And before we close, I want to share something personal. This will actually be my last episode hosting Behind the Bauer as I'm stepping out of my role as program manager. I just want to say how deeply grateful I am. Thank you so much for Media Squatch for hosting our podcast every week and being such an incredible production team. You've made this process so seamless and so much fun, even for an introvert, shy girl like me. And thank you to Bauer, our board, our volunteers, artists, teachers, and just this entire community for trusting me in this role and allowing me to help shape programs and tell stories and create a space where art can bring people together. Serving as program manager has been one of the most creative and life-giving seasons for me, and it has stretched me and reminded me how powerful the arts are in a community like ours. So thank you for letting me be a part of the story. And even though this is my last episode, the stories don't stop here. So be sure to tune in next time on Behind the Bauer.